Well, I guess it was only a matter of time until this happened. So recently I was cleaning out my closet to make room for my constantly expanding Lego collection when I discovered an old sketchbook from my early middle school years. When I flipped through the drawings inside it, I was reminded once again why I choose to repress as many childhood memories as possible. But then I came up with this brilliant idea to show you guys some of these cringeworthy drawings on a video so I can make more money. So I can buy more Legos. I think I have a problem. I guess after all these years of being disgusted at other people's drawings, it's finally time to be disgusted at my own. These drawings come from an interesting chapter in my life. It was during a period of 3 years where I went through a lot of turmoil. I might tell the story later, but for now, I'll just show you the drawings that came as a result of this area of my childhood. So I guess we'll start off with the random stuff. Here we have a rocket with some perspective issues. Next we have a screwdriver with some sort of deconstructed bomb. Then we have a boat and a nuclear explosion. I had an interest in bombs quite a bit at that age. I have no idea what those last two things are, and finally we have a small house with robotic legs. I think I saw Hal's Moving Castle once and was like, hey, I'm gonna rip off that. Now for the first part of this journal, there wasn't that many main drawings, mostly just doodles. We'll get to the big stuff later. But there is a part in this book that I think you guys will find interesting. So there was this guy in my class named Shan who said some of the oddest things I have ever heard, and to me he was utterly fascinating. So as some sort of character study, I wrote down some things about him. Things that Shan says. I'll just read off the most unique things since there's a lot here. I hate Manchester. If you think there's context for these statements, there's not. He would literally just yell these things randomly. I'm going to move to Dubai and marry a Muslim. Muslims absorb, not eat. Well, this got concerning rather quickly. I'm a British Muslim. Shane really liked Muslims, I guess. Monday is not a day because it is not a day to enjoy. Well, that one just doesn't make sense. Jamaicans' tongues yearn for crocodile meat. After this, I made a diagram of what I thought Shane's brain was like. Most of the diagram consists of pockets of nothing, surrounded by eating, sleeping, and basic survival instincts. And of course, there's a section dedicated to Muslims. I was also given a card by Shane and kept it after all these years. He passed these to everyone in the class. This card is an afterthought. Roses are red, violets are pink, I love myself. Your birthday does not matter. Then we have a picture of an Asian woman saying, try our octopus-flavored floss. And that's it for the Shane category. Shane, if you're watching, I hope you're not in a mental institution. So next I decided to draw some robots. I guess these could count as OCs, but I didn't really think of them as characters. Most of these are terrible and have terrible designs. There's not much to say about them. Here we have a drawing of a monarch butterfly with an actual size butterfly next to it. They're actually much larger than that. I severely underestimated. This is where things start to get a bit strange. This girl is about to meet Obama. Make her acceptable to the president. Ah yes, Obama was in office at the time. So this creature is horrifying, but it's pretty obvious that she's supposed to be. I had a twisted sense of humor back then and still do today. So this is my anger chart. Let me give you a bit of context behind this. When I was in middle school, I had a very tough time socializing and just living life in general. I had some serious anger issues which resulted in a few suspensions. In order to cope with this constant frustration, I would draw charts and graphs. Each of these faces represents a level of anger I could experience. 0 is relaxed, 1 is calm, 2 is regular, 3 is annoyed, 4 is Christopher. Christopher was a particularly bothersome classmate, so he got his own category. 5 is simply angry, 6 is very angry, 7 is hysterical, 8 is rage, 9 is rage quit, 10 is you better run, and 11 is a mystery. I also made a line graph of anger throughout the week and anger throughout the year. I was a disturbed child. So this is some concept art for an ender sword for Minecraft. God, this hurts. I also had an obsession with drawing nuclear detonations in heavily populated cities. I think it's safe to say I was the edgiest kid in my class. I legitimately wanted everyone to die, including myself. That's not even a joke. So about a year later, I started drawing these really detailed collections of doodles. I would take some sort of small object and build a civilization on it, complete with hundreds of tiny stick figures. I also drew these mechanical diagrams full of random gears and stuff like that. Those These weird symbols on the side are actually my own secret code, because I guess I thought I needed one. I don't know what it says anymore, but if I tried to decipher it, I could probably figure it out. I remember it being pretty easy to solve. Here is a little project I never finished, the 1000 faces. My idea was that I make a bunch of circle faces with expressions on them, kind of like emojis. But after like the 10th expression, I couldn't think of any more and just started putting random stuff. I doubt most of these can even be called expressions. I'll just highlight my favorites. Chinny, licky, dead, exploded, Muslim. I'm not sure if those were intentionally put together. Nosy, elfy, nuked, decapitated, clowny, Stitches. I guess that character went through a car crash or something. And now I have saved the best for last. My full name is on the drawing, so I'm going to crop it out and replace it with my username for now. This is going to be pretty bad. Solar Sands, Supreme Overlord. And here we have a picture of me with a robotic arm of some sort, standing on a pedestal with factories and slave workers in the background. You will also notice a bunch of L symbols all over the place. That's the first letter of my real name, so there, you have a hint now. Let me be the first to say this is the worst thing I have ever made, and it makes me cringe into nothingness every time I look at it. You see, I used to have this fantasy that I would rise up politically and become an all-powerful dictator. I wanted to enslave everyone and essentially take over the world. I used to make all sorts of propaganda with this emblem stamped on it, but I never developed any sort of policies or campaigned, so as you can imagine, I didn't really get anywhere. Now, this was parallel to the destruction of the world by nuclear war fantasy. I figured that either I would become a dictator or everyone, including myself, would die, whichever came first. Part of me still believes everyone is going to die in some horrific disaster, but I think we can all agree that I will not be rising to power anytime soon with this thing in my possession. For some reason, people believe that I don't understand the concept of being a beginner in art, when I think it's pretty obvious I do. I was pretty bad at drawing when I was young, like most people, and when I was young I was not very good at taking criticism, which is why for the most part I kept these drawings to myself. I admit in the past on my Browsing DeviantArt series, criticizing art from random young artists was probably not the best idea, which is why I just take art from volunteers now. There's something else I want to take away from this. Don't be afraid to laugh at yourself. No one's art is perfect. When I criticize art and point out flaws, that's not because I think I can do better, and it doesn't always mean I think the art in general is bad. I just see things that can be improved. Worrying obsessively about how people will judge your work is not something that is worth your time. Clearly the goal is to have people like your art, but don't develop a habit of getting upset over the tiniest bit of criticism. I'm guilty of doing this sometimes, I'll admit that, but I think if you're more flexible, more willing to acknowledge mistakes and learn from them, and able to find humor in past errors, things like art can be much more enjoyable. Anyway, my name is Solar Sands, and goodbye.